Well, hello there. Welcome to our Wednesday demo night. We're going to be doing some more cloud waterfall cloud variations. And I'm doing something a little bit different with this particular cloud pour variation. And so what we're going to be doing tonight, I'm going to be using a similar cloud pour mixture that we've done, but I'm only doing one demo tonight. It's a large one. It's an 18 by 24, and I'm going to be treating this kind of like I would go about doing a finished painting, like a piece I was planning on exhibiting or selling, something like that. So I'm going to go about it as I would kind of a finished piece for me. So we'll see how it goes. Still kind of a demo, but kind of a little more serious demo, I guess. I don't know, but it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I've got an interesting color palette that I'm excited to try out, and I'll walk you through all of the formulas, the colors, and everything, and then we'll get into our demo. So welcome everyone. Hey, Monique is here. Pat, welcome. Judy, great to see you. Hey, Carla, awesome to see you as always, and I'm sure more members will be showing up soon, but so we'll get into it here. Like I mentioned earlier, if you missed, I'm going to be doing just one demo, but it's a larger demo. It's a 18 by 24, and I'm going to be kind of approaching it like I would kind of a finished piece for me, or something I would plan on, hopefully, like putting in my my store or selling or something like that. So not really like a demo, like an experimental demo, more like a finished demo. They're always kind of experiments, but so I'm going to go about it a little more with a critical eye for what I like, and hopefully get a great painting. So not just a good painting, a great painting. We're shooting for greatness tonight. So excited about it. So I've got all my paints set up. I've used a little bit different mixing formula for the colors. I'll talk about the cloud mixture. This is going to be an elevated waterfall cloud pour, so those can be tricky, but I've got my side view camera over here set up and ready to go. So let's dive in and get going. And if you have any questions throughout, feel free to throw them in the comments, and we'll see what we can get tonight. So I'm going to flip the camera over. Let's walk through the colors, the cloud mixture, and the color mixture, okay? So let me flip the camera. So here we go. I'm zoomed pretty far out because the 18 by 24 is a fairly large format. It's about as big as I can get tilting by hand without getting crazy. So, but I really love working with 18 by 24s. The larger you get, the more interest and more dynamic things can happen. I think my favorite paintings have been 18 by 24 paintings. So I love working with this size and a little larger. It's my favorite. But let's talk about the cloud mixture first. I've got it right here. This is the new cloud formula, the Easy 2.0 formula. So it's 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part of the Folk Art multi-surface satin, which I'm have been using a lot lately, and I quite like it. And then 1 part of the DecoArt satin enamel, and that's it. Then a little bit of water. You don't need a lot of water, but just a little bit. We're going for the number 2 consistency with all these paints and the base coat. So that is the cloud mix, just that Easy 2.0 mix, which I've gotten good results from, and I like it a lot. I like it better than the regular Easy formula. You can get a little more interest and a little more cloudy effects, so I quite like it. Next up, we've got Light Blue Permanent, which is one of my favorite blues. It's just this beautiful light blue color from Liquitex Basics. I've got Copper from Artist Loft. I have got this interesting, I've mixed up my own Payne's Gray, which I've done a few times before. And it's kind of fun to mix your own Payne's Gray. And I just use cobalt blue and black. And just like the Artist Loft Flow acrylic black, this one, this one still works great for me. I still use this a lot. In fact, the base coat is mixed with the soft body black. So the nice thing about mixing your own Payne's Gray is you can use multiple blues, but I really love the cobalt blue. It's not too dark, it's not too light, and you can change the amount of blue in your Payne's Gray. So you can add a little bit more black if you want it a little darker, or you can add a little more blue if you want a little more to the light blue side. So it's kind of fun. This is just kind of a regular, kind of a darkish, normal type of Payne's Gray, I guess. So, but that is a Payne's Gray color. And then this is a very interesting color. And this is a mixture. I'll move this up here. This is a mixture. It's a dark looking kind of like reddish purple, but it's a mixture of copper and the cobalt blue. And one thing it does, it gives you this really shimmery effect. It's kind of like this kind of color shifting effect. It might not be coming up on the camera. Maybe I'll hold it up a little bit higher. It's kind of this kind of cool color shifting type of effect. It looks a little bit dead in the camera, but it's a kind of a really fun kind of bluish, or I mean red violet grayish color. So we'll be using some of that. And so, you know, just these kind of three colors plus white, it's very limited, and a little black, I guess. Pretty limited color palette, but I've used this color palette before, and I really love like these darks and the light blue and the copper together. So we'll see what we can get tonight. And so the formula I used for this is based on the Liquitex formula, but I added some Vallejo pouring medium. So it's 2 parts Floetrol, like normal, 1 part paint, and then a half part of our pouring medium. So it's the half part is comprised of about 50% of the Vallejo and about 50 of the Liquitex. So about 25 or 0.25 parts of each of them, which makes up like a half part size. Just kind of eyeballed those. So I'm excited to see what will happen. The Vallejo gives you all those little small cells, which I kind of like. So we'll see what happens with that. So it's kind of just an off, kind of a take on the Liquitex formula using part of the Vallejo mix. So those are the colors. Those are the mixing formulas. I've got my cup ready to go. I'm just using a regular old cup for this one. You could use a measuring cup, of course, a regular cup, anything you want. And we're going to be layering the colors, probably quite a few layers, but I'm going to hold the cloud mix to about 2 layers, I think, and I'm going to separate them apart a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started layering our cup, and we'll get going and see what we can create tonight. So I'm just moving these paints out of the way here. And let's see here. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of shift these around. So I'm not gonna start with our cloud mix first. I want to get a little bit more interest as we get towards the end of the cup. So I'm actually gonna start with a little bit of copper and then go to my blue. So, and oh, by the way, all of these paints are mixed to the number 2 consistency as well. So number 2 consistency for our cloud mix, the Easy 2.0, and then all of these are also the number 2 consistency, the standard consistency. So let's go ahead. What was I gonna do? I'm gonna put in a tiny bit of copper, just like that. And then I'm gonna put in a little bit of our blue, our light blue permanent. And then we're going to put in our first layer of cloud mix. And I don't want to go nuts with the cloud mix, kind of keeping it more conservative on this painting. And then I'm going to go back to the blue, add a little bit more blue on top of that. And then we're going to start going into the other colors. And I'm going to go with my Payne's Gray next. and then our copper. And I'm thinking about getting, the cools and warms. So we have a lot of cool colors. The Payne's Gray, blue are cool. We've got a warm with our copper. And then this is kind of a warm and cool kind of combined, this kind of red-violet, interesting gray color. So I'm going to go back to, actually I'm going to go with my blue next, again. And I want to get a lot of blue in here. Then I'm going to go to this interesting kind of gray color. And that is our first layer. And I think I'm going to go back to my copper. And then I'm going to add my second layer of cloud mix. And there we go. So that's probably going to be it for the cloud mixture. I don't want to overdo it because I want to see all these other colors. And I don't want the cloud to kind of eat everything up. So now on top of that, let's go back to our blue. And then I'm going to go back to the Payne's Gray, and also thinking about lights and darks values. So I want to intermix my lights and darks on top of each other. I'm going to go back to some copper. And I'm mixing these up a little bit. I'm not doing the exact same order. And then I'm going to go to this interesting dark color back to blue. And then I'm going to go back to my dark, the Payne's Gray. Then the warm, the copper. And the rest is going to be kind of a mixture of these colors. And put some copper on top of the blue. And I'm getting close to my 14 ounces here. Okay, a little more of our dark, our Payne's, and then I think I'll end it with our blue. And that should take us to our 14 ounces right there. Great, all right, so we've got all our paints layered in our cup. We've got 2 layers of cloud mix in there. So I'm going to move some of these paints aside. Move my big cup over here. And let's pull over our big old canvas. So again, 18 by 24 if you just tuned in. And what I'm going to be doing, I'll spread my base coat on. I'll be lifting it from my left side. I've got my camera over here so you can get a good shot. I'll be pouring from my right hand, which gives me more control. So I'm pouring away from the canvas. I'll be pouring away from the canvas at the top. And I'll talk about that again. And I'm also elevating this end of the canvas. So I have my little cup here, and it's about 1.5 inches tall. So that will be elevated, and I'm going to be pouring on this end, and it'll be kind of rolling down at a diagonal. So it's kind of an elevated pouring at a diagonal. A little tricky to do those, but I like the compositions you can get. So let's go ahead and put our base coat on. This is just black. Artist Loft black, the regular formula with 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and number 2 consistency again, like all the other colors. So I'll just spread this out. I'm going to go a little quicker. It's pretty warm in the studio, and when it gets warm, as I'm sure it's probably warm in a lot of your studios, it's a good idea not to dilly-dally too much. So the paint will set up rather quickly, quicker than you'd think in the heat. So I recommend, I always try to keep my paints covered until I'm ready to go with them. Otherwise, if you leave them out in a hot environment, they can develop a skin quite quickly, and that'll really mess things up. So, and then when you're doing base coats and stuff, I try to get those on there about as quick as I can, and just move the process. You don't need to rush, but again, don't be too slow. So there we go. That is looking good. Don't have many air bubbles in this. I think I'll forego the torching, and we can just get on with our pouring. All right, so let's see. Let me flip the camera here. You can get a backside view of the studio. And I'm going to raise this end of the canvas. And so it's going to be tilted like that. And I'm going to be lifting this end up. And then I'm going to be pouring out of the side I layered. So there's the side I layered from. I'm going to be pouring out of that side. Let me turn this, and then I'm going to be aiming about here with my paint. It'll be kind of rolling down in a diagonal pattern, and we'll see what we get. So again, it's a bunch of paint. I'm going to be changing the angle of the canvas as I go. So pouring away from me, kind of away from the canvas, and let's see what we get. So far so good. I'm liking the way the colors are kind of blending together, or not blending, but the pattern they're making. So just going with a fairly thin stream of paint. I'm going to start lowering the canvas just because I don't want that to hit the edge too soon. So this one requires some patience and some strong shoulders, but you can get some cool compositions this way. So it's flowing on down there. It's not getting all the way to the corner, but that's all right. And we should be hitting the cloud any time now. So what I'm going to do, it's getting a little perilously close to the edge. I'm going to kind of grab my canvas and tilt it upright. And I'm going to change the direction of the pour. I think we're getting into our cloud now. There we go. And I think we're getting close. Concentrating. And there we are. So I'm going to tilt this away. Just move it so I don't get a weird drip, and then pull it off of my little stand and set her down. So there we go. That's a crazy puddle, but it's got a whole lot of potential, so I'm excited about that. Let me flip back the camera here. You can kind of see a top view. So it did some crazy things with the different angles, but excited about the potential of this one. Lots of blue through there, lots of copper. Clouds are looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and do our tilting. I'm going to just stretch this out. And I'm going to actually start pouring off the edges right away instead of going back and forth. It's because I don't want to overstretch our clouds. So here we go. And I'm going to go tilt off our cloud corner up here next. And before I do that, I like these clouds. I'm going to add, got a little bit of the Payne's Gray left. Let's add a little bit of the Flow Extender on there. That'll just help keep those things from getting overly stretched out. Kind of taking my time with the stretching stages. So I'll lose some of those, but that's okay. So there we go. I'm going to try to keep that one in the corner. And as we stretch, those are going to expand and continue to grow. Turn it this way and get a little better grip. go for this corner down here. Quite like that coppery corner. I'll see what happens with that. Okay, one corner left over here. Okay, I got that one. Tilting back. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it now. And we've got lots of cool things happening. All our clouds are trapped kind of up in the corner. I'm gonna tilt some of this blue off. I really like it, but I want to move those clouds down a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of hold it straight up here and slightly angle to that blue corner. See if I can pull some of those down. I'm starting to get a little crazy with our edges and things. So kind of like that. I'm going to just go back a little. It's getting a little, that jaggedy look, which I don't love. So I'm just taking a look here. And I kind of like what's happening. I think I'm going to I got to decide quickly. I don't want to let it sit for too long. I'm going to pour a little of this off this corner. It's a little too symmetrical for me. So I'm going to just see what happens when I do that. And some of these, as I'm stretching, more clouds are kind of developing. So those kind of cloudy cells. So I'm just going to look and see what happens with the paint. Okay, I think I like that. I'm going to just tilt back a little bit. All right, so I'm going to turn it around. So I like that quite a bit better. It's not so symmetrical. It's got an interesting, a little more interesting diagonal composition. So I think I'm going to call that one complete. I think I'm getting to the end of my ability to tilt. So we're just going to let it sit there and see if anything else develops. We're getting some interesting cells that have kind of popped up as we started tilting. So I'm just wiping my hands off a bit. I'll point some things out. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. I don't know if we've achieved our goal of great, but I think it's definitely good. So we'll see how it dries, but I'll point out some things I like. I love these. Well, we put some of that Vallejo in there, and we got a lot of these interesting little tiny cells that have kind of popped up throughout, which I find very interesting. I think it's a very cool, interesting look. Might be difficult to see, but down here, lots of these little coppery cells. Up here, there's a lot of these little interesting cells popping up. It's almost like a pebbly look, which I find very fascinating. I like the cloud. I like especially we started with that little bit of copper and blue, so we don't have a great big white center. There's a lot of white, but there's a lot of subtle details in there, which I quite like. I think the corners are interesting. I love this band of copper and blue kind of running around here. I like this big band of blue we have kind of surrounding the white. And of course, expectations, I don't really have any. And you never know what the outcome is going to be, but I think we created an interesting painting. So, is it a great painting? I don't think so. Wouldn't say great, but definitely a good painting. So, I'm happy with a lot of parts of it. So, let's see here. So, let me, and we'll see, of course, things will continue to move around a little bit as it dries. Some of those clouds might continue to pop up. So let me see if you have any questions here. And Lynn's got a question. And she's asking, there were 2 layers of cloud mix. Why did they all come out together? Well, you never quite know. I mean, you can only control things to a certain extent. I started with the layer, we added more colors, we had a second layer, and they did come out differently, or separately, I should say, but kind of close together. So it's hard to, I don't have a great answer for you, Lynn. It's just kind of the way it works out sometimes. So, but you could try, if you want to avoid that, you could try putting your first layer in early. You can try putting your second layer in much later in the cup. Not like at the very end, because it'll probably get tilted off, but like 3/4 to the end of the cup. And then you could maybe have some clouds a little more evenly distributed throughout the painting. We'll give that a try. So that maybe would have been a good idea if I did that. But there's always next time. So. So, all right, so let me see here. Any other questions you might have? I'm going to just scroll up and see if I missed any. And let's see here. So, thanks for the great comments, everyone. I appreciate it. And see, no other questions. So let's see, scroll back down. Well, I appreciate Carla's got medals. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hopefully one is not last place, but appreciate that. Let's see here. Let me zoom in and you can maybe see some of these interesting details. It's kind of hard on a big 18 by 24 because there's lots of kind of fun things to see in this one. Let me zoom in here. So here's this top, where is it there? There's the top corner, and I'll go through kind of the clouds. You can see the interesting little, all the little subtle variation in the clouds, all the color blending and like the small details. I find that fascinating. Even in that big white like layer, it's hard to see, but there's a lot of interesting colors happening in there. And then here's that bottom corner, and you can kind of see those little coppery cells popping up. I find those very interesting. And then kind of up here closer to that blue, like those little tiny cells, it's kind of like a lacing effect, but it's like this little pebbly sandy look. I think it's really cool. And then down in this corner you can kind of see some more of those. It's almost like a texture, you know, without it creates a texture without actually having like a physical texture. And that blue edge is kind of has the same thing, kind of this fuzzy sandy looking edge. I think it's a really cool, and that's caused by that Vallejo pouring medium. So there we go. Okay, so let me flip back here. All right, well, that went pretty good, I guess. You know, it's fun to do these big paintings. I really like doing larger format paintings. They're kind of challenging. They're a little stressful. You kind of have to plan on them, prepare for them a little bit. It's kind of like a little larger project. But I really like that. And you know, they don't have to be stressful. They can just be easy. But, you know, it's a lot of paint to prepare. It's a lot of paint to pour. And, you know, moving it around. But it's a fun challenge, you know, which I quite like. So if you're up for it, give these larger format paintings a try. I think you'll enjoy them. You don't have to go and tackle this weird technique, the tilted canvas. You could just do a regular waterfall pour or just a cloud pour. You know, it doesn't have to be a crazy weird one, but I think you'll enjoy them. And when you get a great one, it's a whole lot of fun and it makes it all worthwhile. So any final questions, any other questions you might have here? I know this was maybe a little short, but we'll see how this one dries. And I'm just gonna let it sit here and not do anything to it. When it gets really warm, you know, you run the risk of some paint cracking just because it can dry a little too quick. But you know, there's not a whole lot you can do. You don't want to put on fans, really. That can speed up the drying. So you just want to let it sit and just cure and dry on its own. And hope for the best. So let's see here. Donna says, I'm working on a 48 by 36, and that's a big one, and done twice, and I'm waiting on supplies for a third attempt. Yeah, those can be challenging, you know, those great big paintings. So good luck to you on that one. And remember, you know, try to eliminate or erase that picture in your mind that it's got to meet a certain expectation. That's a dangerous thing to do, especially with larger paintings. You get a kind of, you're focused on a picture in your head, and more than likely you're not going to achieve that. It's going to be different from what you pictured. So, prepare for that and try not to have those expectations, especially if you're, trying to reproduce something that is really, really challenging and can be very frustrating. So, so good luck with your big, giant canvas, Donna. And Donna, or Carla says, I actually lightly misted my canvas before base coat, and I think it helped. That might help, yeah, that's a good idea. And Lynn said, would GAC help with cracking? Well, there is Liquitex in this paint, which is basically, does the same thing as the GAC 800, and there's Vallejo in there. But even with that in there, if the paint dries on top too quickly, the paint underneath is still wet, so cracking can still occur. It's kind of like it's a shock. It's like a shock issue. So, but the Liquitex or the GAC can help with that. But and I'm not too worried about it. I've had very few paintings crack on me. The most important part with cracking is having the right amount of paint on your canvas, not too much. So, and that's why we use the canvas coverage cheat sheet. It tells you about how much paint you need. If you go way over that, then you really run a risk of cracking, because then the paint on top is definitely going to dry before the paint underneath. So, but I'm just pointing out some things that can happen when it gets really hot or warm in your studio. But yeah, the GAC would help with cracking. Lynn, great point. And oh, Donna is saying, I like the first one, then dropped something on the corner. Didn't like the second at all. Yeah, that can happen. Unfortunate accidents can take out your paintings faster than anything, yeah. So, sorry about that, Donna. Good luck with the next one. Let's see. And Lily says it's hot in Louisiana, I bet. Feels like 110. Wow, that is really hot. Stay safe there, Lily. Drink a lot of water. And Cinda's saying, it's hot in Texas too. 110 with heat index up to 120. That is super hot. Yeah. So stay inside and keep the air conditioning on. And Monique says, I've only had cracking in paint when I left too much paint on the canvas. Yeah, that's the number one reason, is just too much paint. Number two reason, in my experience, is pouring a new paint over an old painting, and the old painting is using some other type of pouring medium, like used glue in the first painting, and you pour Floetrol paint on top of the dried glue painting. You guaranteed that's going to be crack like crazy, because those two paints do not like each other. So if that happens, it's going to be disastrous, more than likely. So, all right. Well, it sounds like it's hot all over the place. So I hope everyone stays cool and relax and just hang out, have fun painting. And until next time, I'll see you on the Friday demo. I don't have any more questions. So have a great rest of your week. See you Friday, and we'll do it again. And Cinda said, I didn't know that caused cracking. Yep, that causes major cracking if you use different, like glue and Floetrol don't mix. It's like latex paint and oil paint. So if you get them, if you don't want to pour on top of, one, what am I trying to say? If you have a glue painting, you can put glue, another glue painting on top of it. Same with Floetrol, but you can't put like a Floetrol painting on top of a glue painting. So, and probably vice versa too. Glue over Floetrol might not work. So, yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining me. Hope you found the painting interesting. I think it's pretty cool. So I'm kind of happy with it. I'll see you Friday, and have a great rest of your week. Take care, and stay cool. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.